Hey, happy Sunday. Let's get things moving. So we're going to work from the feet up again today. So let's just work our feet on the floor to start with. So just like we're like walking on the spot. So trying to, without moving around, yeah. So really working those toes, ankles, knees and hips in the action. Okay. Yeah. So I'm standing on a creaky floorboard, yeah, with a click in it, yeah. Well, it must be because both of them doing it. Yeah, I got a clicky ankle today. You can sort of do this in one spot if you get really, really clever at it. It's like almost like doing the shuffle. Everybody's shuffling. Okay, up at our toes. And down we come. Once more, up we go. Whoop. And down. And work those feet and knees and hips. So straight line stuff. You ever tried walking like that? Same leg, same arm? And rest. Okay. Ankles, working our way up. So, work the hip and everything in this one today. So we're making big circles with the hip and the toe. Okay. Get some rotation in that hip at the top. Switch directions. The thing with that's different to not using the leg in the circle is that makes us straighten the leg out. Because if we've got the leg bent, tend not to make the circle. Other side, here we go. Okay. That hip rotating in that socket up the top. Makes your circles funny, but switch directions. Great, and feet down. It's amazing how warm the rest of the body feels when you start to get the blood down to there. It's great. Okay, we're not going to put the foot to the floor just yet. We're just working through here and there. So I want you to relax the foot as you bring this knee up. Take it out to the side. Bring it back in and place it down. Stay on the one side. Start to open the chest with the knee. Yeah, it's like when we introduce new things, it just takes a little while for the brain to click in and make things happen. We're starting to make this foot on the floor once more here. Think about what's going on. Alright, other side. Try to squeeze that knee up and just slowly opening that knee to the side. Let's do one more, because this one needs a bit of work. And all right. You really feel that leg standing leg, the foot working on the floor to keep us upright. Hey, it's like this thing called proprioception, this feedback tells us what's going on. So we've really got to work on that. Okay. All right. So working through the hips a little bit more. We're not sort of tending more to work deeper now. So the stuff we'll do today is a little bit more movement based. So rather than just superficial work, we'll work a little bit more into the hips. So get your feet a little bit further apart. So not quite big deep sumo stuff, but about halfway. And we're just going to go side to side. So a little side lunge, okay? But just work on the inner thigh a little. Keep the heel on the floor, work over the top of the foot. So nice and gentle. Feel maybe a little stretch in the calf as we move through the ankle on each side, all those sorts of things. I want you to feel the joints and the muscles that make them work. You feel those things. What do you feel like happening? The thing with the side lunges, we tend to be over the foot more. If we want to get off that foot, we just need to then start sticking our butt out to the back. So bringing in the hamstring and the butt a little bit more. Still keep the heel on the floor, the opposite foot, and the toes as well at this point. So a little bit like our Tai Chi stuff, this, if you remember that. Bringing in, taking it out, bringing it in, taking it out, and all this sort of stuff. Should do a bit more of that. I'll do a bit more this week, like that. Okay, and come into a rest. So what if we do that, but we lift the heel off the floor, the toes off the floor, but leave the heel on the ground. Give you a bit more vision this time. So if I'm down here and I'm lifting the toe off the floor, what do I feel? So just doing the same, start with the feet down and then slowly work those feet up and start to give more flexion in the foot as we come around. What happens? Up the leg, all this sort of stuff. That's the cat, if you can hear that, not me. Sounds like my hips, it's not. Alright, last one. Okay, of course you can take this stuff a little further if you wish, because this is really like, it's just weight bearing movement. Out of the ordinary. Oh, just trying the cat's tail. So out of the ordinary, which maybe like for most people is just walking around in circles. Maybe the other way as well, or working straight line. Very rarely we do a lot of work backwards either. Walking backwards is something that I really enjoy, even jogging backwards, because it changes the patterns and allows you, I suppose, as an element of, always an element of risk when you're going somewhere where you don't know where you're going, but you can always have a look, I suppose. But it makes you really lift your feet off the floor and take proper steps. It's like, I mean, the Ministry of Funny Walks, John Cleese and Monty Python's, it's like that sort of stuff. It's like all this sort of thing, but like incredibly, I suppose, the feedback that you get is really, really interesting because it just lets you move different ways. And if you're somewhere that no one's looking, might try a bit of backward walking maybe. Okay, so shoulders, let's get up there now. One elbow, so just make circles with the elbows. So involving the upper arm, it's a lot easier to do with shoulder roll and do it smoothly and get everything else involved than it is to do it on its own, okay? So nice big reach. So big circles with the elbow. The bigger we get this, the more involved the shoulder is going to be. The more involved the chest cavity will be. The more involved in the movement will the shoulder blade be. Change directions. Making the elbow work, you can feel the muscles in the arm working, feel the muscles in the back working, and in the chest. A little bit of a burn up the top. Change your arms, everybody. Over the top first. So the first thing I notice with this is a stretch for the tricep. Change direction. So making the circles bigger means working to our furthest most range, okay? So we get to the furthest most range, the bigger stretch, and we work it. Funny things happen when we get to that point. And rest it down. You can feel that one already still. What happens when we get to the ends, that extreme, the bubble that arm works in, for instance, in that movement with this bent elbow, because that will be different if we straighten our arm, of course, is that we challenge the muscles to pull and release at the same time more, which just then generally increases muscle length and strength and joint mobility and all those sorts of things. So although it's hard to start with, that little bit of movement, I can really feel the blood flowing into my shoulder now, and this is like, blood is the #1 healing of anything. It's like it clears everything out, it flushes everything. It's like throwing a bucket of water on a dirty floor, it just washes everything away. So it carries nutrients to the place where the blood flow has been increased, all those other things in there, just to get things healing and working again for us, and building muscle, strengthening muscle, of course, needs blood flow. Alrighty, 2 together. So if we do both these together, now we start to involve the shoulders more, but more so the thoracic spine. So just shoulders over the top and back. We're going to hit the roller shortly, so this is like, so if we start to do the elbow thing as well, it's start a little bit silly. I don't mind being silly. So I want you to roll as much as you like to get these circles as big as you like. Don't get caught by just leaning forward in this. I want you to be up tall as well. Rotating is as much a part of the lateral movement at the same time. So find something to look at. Try to keep the head as still as you can, and don't let the head go all over the place either, because you'll end up on your backside. Change directions, go backwards. So don't cheat on yourself. Don't. I did it just then. I come around this way, my elbow stayed down. I didn't put enough into the other side. So whatever this side does, that side does. So if I dip down, this one's going to go up and up. And rest it right there. Okay, so we've involved not only the upper back, our thoracic spine, our shoulder blades, our shoulders. We've also involved the middle back, all the way down to the pelvis. And I bet even then some of you are even moving your knees and your hips and everything else. So every joint in the body, except maybe the hand, the fingers in that, depending on what you were doing in that, was working for you. Okay, let's grab a roller each, if you've got one handy, hopefully. Alrighty, just going to roll quads. Just roll a bit around the hips, those really little troublesome spots and inside the thigh. We can do that this morning. Let's do that, because I know most of you are probably working towards some of that. I just thought I'd fit it in, so it gives you that extra opportunity to practice it. Okay. Some of you may be practicing it more diligently than others, but we'll see. Okay, quads. I love rolling quads. I think they're great. In fact, I love rolling. I was talking to someone the other day about rolling. If a roller doesn't hurt me in some way, make me feel uncomfortable, a bit of discomfort, a bit of muscle pain, I go looking for somewhere in that muscle that does, because I don't believe I'm in perfect shape. There must be somewhere in there, somewhere in that muscle or that group of muscles that needs some release, because I know that I don't move well. I know that I'm tight in some areas. I move better in one direction, but when I mirror that the other way, I don't move as well. So I know there are things that are unbalanced. A little bit of what we call dysfunction in some muscles and muscle groups. So trying to find those little bits and pieces and work on them is what we're after. Alright, so putting those heels up, so like we were going to do a stretch, but not quite. Change the tension, change the length in the muscles as you roll them as well. From here you can let your your heels fall out to the side, slightly rotate as well. So all these different ways of rolling the muscle, creating a different tension in the muscle to make it work. I haven't really tried putting a quad stretch on mine, doesn't do much really. Alright, we know that when we do relax muscles we get a little bit deeper. But it's just good to know that we can do things a different way. Just roll your side slightly, so just turn your chest to the left, use your arm to just keep the shoulder up, and roll the right leg a little more, and then just do the inside of the left leg, inside of that quad, okay, a little bit. You get a bit more weight on either leg as well in those areas. We're going to do the inner thigh shortly, but this is like a little bit more fun. Oh, there we go. Especially down just above the knee on the inside of the leg, there's a little muscle there that does a bit of work for us. Stabilising through the knee as we go. Alright, turn your chest to the right, just bring that right knee out to the side slightly. And give that a roll. You may find, or I hope you find, that on the straight leg, the side you're rolling onto, you're moving to the outside slightly. That's what I'm doing. Workout. Alright, beautiful. There we go, something different. Always a different way of doing the rolling, that's for sure. So glute med, through the gap there, through the TFL. Okay, loosen up the outer reaches of the hip. What that will do is allow more movement, abduction as well, like moving away as well, releasing that, less knots and things. So yeah, find that little gap, roll through, and then onto the buttock. So almost like 45 degrees up into the sky there with the hips facing, and then 45 degrees, maybe even more down here. But it's important to relax this leg. Otherwise this roll is not going to sink in. So if you're on bone, you might just need to move the roller around a little bit to find that gap to shoot through. not talking to you anyway. You're a bad cat, aren't you? Yeah, Sook. Huh? Yes, Sook. Yes. Whew. Alrighty, switching sides. Nice little roll over there. So getting skillful with the roller. And you soon get to know where you need to be, don't you? It's like, ooh, yeah. A little bit of apprehension maybe as to what you're going to feel, but that you know that's coming on because you're going in the right direction. Doing things slowly or a little bit quicker, we're all different. We'll all feel things differently. The roller is a tool to use the way you want to use it. But its effectiveness is only related to the amount of time that you use it. Okay. It's a light exercise, generally. I don't need to tell you guys. I don't think I need to tell you guys. But I'm going to tell you anyway. Alright. Once you've done that bit, we're going to come to inner thigh. Science tells us, the scientists out there tell us that 150 minutes a week of medium to high intensity exercise, together with good nutritional diet, well balanced diet, will point us in the right direction towards generally a more healthier lifestyle. What they also tell us in the data is that the more exercise, and when I say exercise, the activity, the right activity, the more you do of that, the more beneficial it is. So once you get to like 200 minutes a week, then all that stuff starts to compound even more. So, but it's got to be the right sort of exercise, and it needs to be a mix of exercise, and it needs to be like what we do, but plus more. Okay, so include things like you're walking in that, you're riding your bike in that. Switch legs whenever you're ready, guys. Include your gardening in that. All this sort of stuff is activity, and we just don't realise that is what they mean. It's like, because active rest is exercise. Active rest is things like, and those who have done a bit of like hard training know what active rest means. It means those things that you enjoy, just let the body move and repair and all those sorts of things. But with general population, it's just keeping us moving, keeping us connected with things like ourselves, nature, all those sorts of things that really, really enhance our health. Okay. So no matter what it is, science is just telling us to keep moving, because we are not a race that is designed to sit still. We can do that for periods, but we can't do it all our lives. We've got to at some point get up and move. And we've got to be in a good state to do that. So we're just doing that. That's what we're doing here, just creating that state. Alright, done the inner thighs, done the outer thighs. Alright, up here. Haven't done the glutes yet, maybe get to that later. But we're going to come up onto our feet. Just place your roller away somewhere where you're not going to trip on it, or kick it through a window or anything. Alright, so what we want to do now, or what I want to do with you guys now, do some of that stuff we did first up. Okay, so let's just feel if we're any better in this. So foot comes up, relax the foot and then the leg, and squeeze it up as high as you can, and rotate, and bring it back down. Once more on this side. So be steady and slow in your movement. Up, open, back, and down. Other side, just two. and down. Okay. So what we tend to be able to do is work more in that. So it may not feel as good, but if you really pay attention, you're actually pulling the knee higher and probably working a little bit wider in that. So that is like this, being able to take a mental note of where you are at any particular time, maybe doing it like this first up, and then the second time getting it to there without really even noticing it. And that small amount of change, of course, is due to the movement you've already taken part in and the release and the roller just then. So all adds up. Stretching, releasing, mobilising and strengthening is how we need to use these tools all around us. Okay, let's grab the ball, put it under your feet. Let's go back down to the ground. There's people here that really swear by this stuff, this ball work on their feet. How it revitalises their whole body. Like, they come in, takes the stress away. Maybe it's just the pain down here, takes the pain away from here. I don't know, but it just makes them feel so much better when they connect. Kick the shoes off. So there's more studies about wearing bare feet. Let's say it that way. Yeah, wearing bare feet. I was talking to Rob is in the class tonight about this the other day, about students. And they've done studies with students in regard to their learning skills, and generally kids who are able to kick their shoes and socks off at the door, come into a classroom, actually learn a little bit better. They're not quite sure why. Maybe they think it's because it's more relaxed, but they generally work a little bit better at school. People generally feel a little bit, their feet are generally in better condition if they spend time out of shoes and socks. So rather than they come home, kick the shoes and socks off, like being constrained all day, you can imagine switching feet whenever you like, just playing around with that ball under the foot. You can imagine like how a puppy, like when it's kept in a cage all day because it's in a little run all day because its owners are away at work, and they come home and let it out for a run, how it jumps around and bounces around. You can imagine how our feet might feel that way as well, and how that will continue up the body, allowing the toes to move, allowing the bone structures to open up and do what they're supposed to do. Yeah. And rest that there. So if we're standing with our feet straight ahead, and this, like, I know isn't how most of us would generally stand, because when we stand like this, we look at ourselves and we look a little bit like weird. But standing with your feet straight ahead, your hips are now aligned in the sockets here, your knees are straight ahead as well. So feeling how you stand right here, so we should have that curve around the foot, big toe around through the ball of the foot to the little toe, down the outside of the foot to the heel. And like, just remember, not everybody has an arch. Okay, some have more arch than others. Okay, but generally speaking, an arch is there to support the foot. All right, so if we feel like and testing our shoes out, someone said to me the other day, we've got shoes, identical shoes, a bit like that, you know. But our walking shoes and my gym shoes have no support in them. They're just barefoot shoes because I like my feet to work. They're not overly tight, but they're good. But this sort of feel here, feeling underneath you and all that sort of stuff, barefooted, and just move yourself around a little bit like this. Right, feel the foot underneath. And then put your shoes on, put your favourite shoes on and see if you feel the same. And all that sort of stuff. So if you do, well, great. If not, well, you need to probably find shoes that make you feel the same here, because the contact. And like shoes mainly, who buys shoes because of the functionality? No, we don't always do that. Some people may wear them prefer that because they're comfortable and they're doing certain things. If they're in the shoes, if they're sitting at the desk and not moving around, they might buy warmer shoes, for instance, depending on what the building's like. But generally, we don't look at them as supporting our feet. It's more about fashion. Yeah. So, all right, let's come to the floor with the ball. Gonna get savage with this thing now. Tip that down a little bit. I think I can see that ball from there. Hopefully you've been able to see my stuff. Tip that down a little bit. Alright. Okay, we just rolled this part. We're going to mash it with the ball now. It's called smashing. Alright, so just want you to find that little gap where you had that roller going through. And just put that ball in that gap. A little hard to find when you've got the little ball. Find the top of the femur, the hip bone there. That muscle that's going straight through there, the one we're rolling, you want to be right on the top of that. Okay. So if you sit like this with your legs straight, you should feel a muscle goes from the hip bone down front of the leg. It's a little bulging muscle. Sit the ball on top of that. Just roll over and then take it from there. Because this ball, these are quite hard and very pinpointed in their targeting, I generally like to just relax on the ball. I let the ball sink in. And he's not getting it. It's not complaining enough. Getting it? Not quite. And it's just playing around with it until you get that. So you may be real subtle changes in the chest, mate. Opening up the chest a little bit will bring the hip around and you'll feel that little movement underneath the ball. You don't have to think about the hip. As soon as you start to think about the hip and the pelvis, you'll start to move the pelvis and change things. Just move the shoulder in and out. The hip will follow without even affecting any muscle movement or tensioning underneath there. Takes a little bit of getting there, but yeah, just find that muscle laying on your back with one leg out like that. The one you're going to roll, just find that muscle, that soft muscle, the bit that's bulging out the front, up the side, and then start there, and then you can do that rolling from there. Okay. Go to the other side. A nice straight leg, and it's like, it's there, you get the point of the hip there, comes straight down towards your knee, that muscle. So come just below, maybe the diameter of the ball below your hip bone, and then just roll onto that. There we go. I just like to take my knee over the top because it straightens my pelvis up, dries the weight through the ball, and then from there, it's just a little bit of moving around to find where you need it, because like I was saying earlier, I've this imbalance in my hips, one side or the other, just like it's just different, feel different things. If we just sit on that ball or lie on that ball for a second, think about opening the shoulders rather than the hips, relax the hips, there we go, and suddenly everything starts to work. Oh. Yep, that's the one. And often that's the, isn't that the reaction? Oh, it's like water to the eyes thing. So when it gets that, when we're at that point, it's like, oh, don't it? You know when you've had enough, don't you? It's like. But again, practice. The more you practice it, the less effect the ball will have on that muscle, the more release you will get. And done. So without moving the roller around, the ball around too much, you can effectively do pressure point release. Another one we did the other day was in the gym was come back. Okay, just above at the top of the glute there, we've got the wing of the iliac there, so the hip bone's there. We go across towards our, just where the tailbone joins the pelvis there and the sacrum, so that's a straight line there. Just in there, just come out a little bit. There's a muscle there that release as well. So, and this is just like going to give more movement, more relaxation through those parts of the body. So, you don't need to get flat to do it. It's like some of you may want to do that, but often you can get these places without that point. So when you find it, and that person that was doing this the other day felt it as well, you get the feeling of tension being put on down through the hamstring. It goes through the glute down to the hamstring as well. Means that ball is really working for you. So don't be worried, this isn't like, we're not working the sciatic nerve or anything like that. That's for another day. And again, this sort of thing is like, there's not a lot of muscle there, but there's muscle there that means something. And even like a ½ inch rotation can make a big difference here, and you've just got to play around with it to get the right effect. And we are doing muscle release here, so okay, try it on the other side. Just try to get the effect of that ball to work to go down the leg, okay? Because we're working fascia here, muscle trains and things like that. We're not just working that, because that lesion, if we've got a lesion there, if we've got tension there, it's going to work down through the leg into the knee even from there, okay? After a while, you don't have to think about this, you just do it and it gets there. Some of you may have a burning sensation, some just a really dull ache to start with. And it depends on our level of pain and threshold, I suppose, as to how we perceive that. But the great thing is, it's just a few seconds of this sort of work can give you a lot of relief in days to come. Woo. All right, I think you've had enough fun for one day. Okay, and when we come up tall, standing up, like always when we've done the roller, we feel, or the ball, or the stick, or whatever, we feel different. So we feel different. We feel, the glutes feel like I've probably done 1,000 squats, but they don't feel tight. All those sorts of things. Yeah. Okay. All right. So we're going to mobilise these now. So we're going to do some just some nice easy work with the legs. So we're going to do some abduction, adduction. So abduction, adduction. So we're taking this foot across the body, and I want you just to tap the floor in front of you, like across. So almost crossing our legs, okay, and then out to the side, and then in. Just tap the floor out in front, down there on the ground, okay. Down a bit. Okay. Okay. All right. So we go out and tap. Tap. and rest there. So I'll nearly guarantee you're feeling that place right there where you just had the ball there. So, right, other side, out to the side, and tap, out, and tap. And the more confidence you get, the further out you take the leg. And rest. Cool. So again, you can feel that muscle there working in that movement, more on the standing leg. Okay, really working that out. And you can put your hand there while you do that. You can feel that muscle rolling around underneath you. Great. Where's the time gone? 9:13. Beautiful. Okay, let's come to one knee, everyone. All right. Okay. A bit of stretching movement stuff happening now. So we've done some stretching in this area Wednesday, and I tell you what, I was talking to Anne the other day. I'm sort of feeling the stretches. It was like I'd done like 1,000 sumo squats. It's like the inner thigh was really like felt like I'd done some work, because there's stuff that we don't normally target, and working around the girdle around our thigh, like there's all these muscle groups. So we're going to do something a little bit similar. We're going to got the knee out in front. We're going to take it out to 45. Okay, we're going to come down to the floor. Okay. Rock back. So rock our bum back towards the heel that's behind it. Come forward and stand up. Okay. Then we're going to bring that foot in and take it out. Back down. And up. All the time squeezing that knee out and back. Okay. So this time we're going to hop in and hop the other side. So bring it across the body. Okay. And then come down over the top. And up. Whoop. And hop that foot out. Out again. And back down. Okay, and up. So bring it out in front of us. So we're going to do hop. We're going to 1, 2, 3 hop. 1, 2, 3 back in. So it's 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So working the quad here, working the hip here, hip flexors and all those sorts of things too, and just trying to like get more, I suppose, wipe of the hip outwards. Okay. So here we go. Just working on the one side. Just do 3 hops out, 3 hops in, and just see how you can work on that range. Okay. Try to keep the foot in line with the knee and the top of the leg. One more. And rest. That quad. Okay, other side. We'll just loosen it up a little bit to start with. Comes up. Take the foot out 45 degrees. Go over the top. Squeeze that knee out as we drop. Take the hip, your butt back towards that heel. Stretch out through the leg, back of the leg. Keep that knee squeezed out. Come up. Okay, here we come. Bring that foot in. Okay, take it out. Down we come. In back. Hinge forward. Up we come. And back in. Okay, 3 hops out, 3 hops in. Oh, I've got to go across that side yet too. Alright, so over we come. And over the top. La 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 la. So if we were able to, like, if I had longer arms, I'd get that one to the floor, yeah, like everyone else. Just try to work our chest over the top of the knee, come back up, and foot there. Okay, our hops. So, we'll do 3 times, 3 times, 3 times 3, alright? So 3 times out, 3 times in, 3 times. And away you go, just trying to work out as far as we can. Really working that foot in a straight line. And rest. And of course, as I demonstrated there was a number of ways you can do that. So you can either hop through with the knee and keep up nice and tall, or you can lean back and once quad if you're not getting the movement in that either. So either way, you're working this hip, but differently. Like that. This one's probably the easiest. We're making a really big hop. Alright, cool. And come into our feet. La 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 la. Not quite enough. Maybe a bit of floor space. Alrighty. Feet are a little bit wide apart, a bit like, I suppose, the same place would be if you were in a yoga stance. Okay, so there. Feet are pointing straight ahead. We're going to turn the left foot out. Okay, then we're going to rotate this hip in and back out. So just try to keep these feet at like 90 degrees to each other. So the right foot's pointing straight ahead, the left foot's out to the side. That's like really, like this in the hip there is really like opening that hip around, creating this. And of course, as you come to the front, you feel that opposite happening on that side, through the inner thigh there. Okay, we're going to add a move to that. So as you come around, open to the side, we're going to drop that knee, and more stretch through there. Up and open. Once more. Drop and open. So if you feel, obviously if you feel you need more of this work because it's not quite getting there, obviously you just take that foot out. So you're working that more, and then you're working that drop more, and so on. So depending on your range, depending on what you feel, it's so easy to work on that. And again, working the stretches through the rotators, hip flexors as well as psoas, alrighty? So you can feel that psoas being elongated as that hip is external rotation. As we turn that way, the foot is going that way. It's just tugging on that muscle. Let's go the other side. Start with your feet straight ahead. Turn the other foot out. So the right foot goes out for me now. Here we go. So straight legs to start with. Rotate. Just trying to get those hips square to the front. And square to the side, square to the front. You feel that one there. Ooh. Pop the hip out and feel this one in there. Okay? Opposites. So really, really easy stuff to work on your hips and your rotators. So easy. Like, we're so getting to the point where we can. This is so inclusive, this work. Anyone can do this stuff. All they need to do is be in the right mind, be able to come in and join it. Okay, so easy. And it's all gradual. So if you're only getting to here and there, you're already feeling this pull. So you're just working on that movement really subtly. Because our legs are wide, pull inwards, the loading is in underneath too, alright? Okay, so we're going to head that little knee drop up and open to the front. Couple more. Open up. Beautiful. Turn feet to the front. Good stuff. Alrighty. The legs are falling off. They're let loose now. Alright, so just different ways of doing things. Like we can do that on the floor, but like we just get a different feel of stuff, and the loading's all different. And we've got to remember there's so many people around us who are just feeling things different ways, and some can't get to some places that we can, and we can't get to places that they can. It's simple as that. But finding something that we can all sort of manage really well, we can manage this sort of stuff really well rather than up and down as well. So a good test for me in this one is like when we come to the floor and we do our knee on the. So we're just looking at those rotation type sits. So we come down onto the floor, foot out in front, and how are we feeling in this stuff already? And we just all we really worked is our hip complex in through there, bit of inner thigh work with the roll earlier, all those sorts of things. What do we like on the other side? Is it the same? Do we have any knee pain in all of this? Can we feel the sit bones underneath it? Feeling pretty good actually this morning. Okay, in our 90-90 set, we're going to go from side to side in this one, so maybe a bit of moving around the room. Okay, so we come down over this knee, this side, and we're going to flip straight over onto this side. So, if you need to, you can use your arms behind you to do that, like this. Okay. If you feel you can, you've got enough mobility in the hips, you can just roll on your backside and do it. Okay. But whatever it is, if you need to take your arms back with you and do that this way, and you're doing it nice and slow like this, that's fine. It's not a race. The work is leaning over the knee as well. So this point here. Let's go. Once more each side. And come to the rest. Alrighty. A little bit of recovery sitting. So one leg here, hero's pose, foot's released. La, 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 la. Okay, up on the knee, switch sides. Back to the first side, this time toes tucked. La 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 la. It's the thoughtful pose, this one. Thinking. Okay, switch sides. A little bit easier to change this one. Okay. It's the other side of thinking. It's just as cloudy as the other side. Alright, tuck the toes at the back. Sit down over the toes. Okay, if you remember from last week, talking about helping with that. So if you can't get your feet flat on the floor in hero pose because of whatever reason, you can always just rest your foot on there, and just because of the angles, there's less load on your feet, on your ankles, okay? And then you can go from there, like you can lean back on your roller and just take it from there, okay? Yeah, so there are ways of, more than one way to skin the cat. Is that what I say? Terrible word, terrible saying. Anyway, alrighty, okay. So, hope you enjoyed that today. A little bit more movement involved in our hip stuff. So, and all this, of course, carries through to our classes when we're actually doing some activity. We revert back to all this stuff, and sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't, because we tend to overthink at first, but then once everything falls into place, it comes along quite almost naturally. So, and that's what we want. Alright, so thanks for joining me again. It's awesome to see you on this sort of half sunny, cloudy, windy day. Hope you enjoy the day anyway, get to do what you set out to achieve. Remember, a day is always a better day if you have something that you want to achieve in the day. Pour your energy into it. So makes it easier, number one, to get out of bed, number two, to get going, number three, to put your mind and soul into something, create something for yourself or someone else or whatever it is, and number four, at the end of the day, you actually feel like you've achieved it and the day has been very purposeful. So, alright, just another way of thinking, maybe help some people use some of their spare time a little bit, because it's easy when people line stuff up, like work for instance. You've got all this work to do and you get that done and you come home and you go, sometimes we just don't really know what we achieved because stuff is like, it's becomes meaningless at work. Whereas stuff that we can create ourselves becomes more meaningful. That's where we want to be. Meaningful. Alright? Full of mindfulness. That's it. Not mindful of mess. Alright. Catch us later, everybody. Have fun. Bye. See you next class.